Today we're going to talk about the Vermont Covered Bridge Society. I'm Beth Brown Limmer, and I am the events chairperson and the fundraising chairperson, acting chairperson. And I have with me two other members of the board of directors today, Scott Scribner, who is our membership chair, and Mark Maddox, who is our secretary and our newsletter editor. And we're going to talk to you about the history of the Vermont Covered Bridge, why it is we do what we do, and hopefully elicit some interest from you about the organization. And the reason that it started was there is a bridge up in Cambridge Junction, Vermont, and the name of the bridge is the Poland Bridge or the Cambridge Junction Bridge. And it is a 180-foot-long Burr Arch bridge that was built in 1887. And all covered bridges in Vermont are inspected every 2 years by the Agency of Transportation. And in March of 1993, the AOT inspected the bridge, and they said it was seriously distressed and significantly sagging. This is a bridge that spans the Lamoille River, and at the time it was carrying traffic. It was closed to traffic because of this report from the AOT. It was unsafe. So the people in Lamoille County were distressed, of course, about their covered bridge having a decided swag in the middle of it. And there was a group of gentlemen from that area that decided we better do something about this before this bridge collapses into the Lamoille River. So some of those people were Terry Shaw from Jeffersonville, and William McComb, who also lives in Jeffersonville, and they got together and contacted two people that had written books about covered bridges at that period in time. First being Ed Barna, who was a journalist for the Rutland Herald for years and years, and he had written this book about Vermont covered bridges, and also Joe Nelson, who is from Underhill, and he had written a book. So the 4 or 5 of those gentlemen decided we have to have money before we can think about doing anything about this bridge. So they contacted U.S. Senator Jim Jeffords at the time, and Jim was a native Vermonter from Rutland, born and raised in Rutland. And so Senator Jeffords said to the group, well, this is great. I agree. We absolutely need money. We absolutely need to save the bridge. So what group are you folks with? And they said, well, we don't have a group. And he said, well, if you want federal funds, you're going to need to incorporate. So they incorporated. It's a 501c3 organization. And they were able to get federal funds. The bridge was saved. There was much pomp and circumstance, a big parade and all kinds of things that went on when the bridge was reopened to traffic in 2003. So that was kind of how it all started. And then they looked around and decided, well, there's other bridges. There's 100 covered bridges in Vermont. And some of them were in dire need. And so they started working with the Agency of Transportation, going to the historic covered bridges meetings on a monthly basis, and being an advocate for the historic spans in Vermont. And that's when they decided, well, we better see if we can find some other bridges in Vermont. So over the years, we have a grant program whereby towns let us know what it is that they need for money, and we see if we can help them. So one of the more recent examples within the last 7 or 8 years has been money that we gave to the town of Belvedere, and their Morgan Bridge up there in that little town was in need of some work. And so the Vermont Covered Bridge Society was able to give them $5,000 towards that work, and the work was done, and the bridge was saved, and the bridge is still being used to carry traffic. 2019, of course, we had that little thing called COVID and a pandemic, and so the Vermont Covered Bridge Society went through a time of sleeping, if you will, like many organizations. And in 2022, there was a renaissance that happened with the Vermont Covered Bridge Society, and we had a resurgence of memberships, and we had people that wanted to do things, and so we've started a fundraising arm in 2022, and we go to events around the state of Vermont, fairs and festivals, and we have things that we sell at these events. We raise funds so that we can give more money to more projects in Vermont. A couple years ago, we gave some money to the town of Lyndonville because the Sanborn covered bridge up there was raising money for a major restoration project that they needed to save the bridge up there, which is a Paddleford Truss Bridge, which is one of 3 of those type truss bridges in Vermont that are left. So we have lots of events. We have lots of things that we sell. We have a calendar that we started in 2022. The first year was 2023 that we sold. And for the last 3 years, we have done that. And they're all Vermont covered bridges in the calendar. And we sell between, first year we sold 400, last year, and the second year we sold 500. And this jury's still out about how many we're going to sell this year. But it's a very nice thing to have. It's available on our website. And we sell bumper stickers, and we sell, this is a new item that we had this year. It's a Christmas ornament. And this is a Vermont artist from Greensboro Bend. Her name is Elaine Cole Kerr. And this is her rendition of the Cooley Covered Bridge in Pittsford. So we have most of our events for this year are over with. However, we do have 2 more. We're going to the craft show in Pittsford on the 23rd of November, and we're going to Brandon Moonlight Madness on the 4th of December. And then we'll be pretty much done with our sales, what I call our sales season, until June of next year.
Thank you, Beth. My name is Scott Scribner. I'm the new membership chairperson. And like Beth said, she was actually the person that got me involved in the Covered Bridge Society. And we were throwing a little party for the museum for the volunteers. And Beth came to me and said, I have to tell you about another group that I'm involved in, which is the Vermont Covered Bridge Society. And I told Beth, let me know what you need. Because just a little story, my wife and I moved to Vermont, and we came up actually in 2020. We're looking for an inn to purchase. My wife decided she wanted to change her career, and she wanted to buy an inn. So we came up to Vermont, started looking around for an inn. And one day while we were looking, we decided that we wanted to get out and see what was around the area, see if there was any other properties for sale, just see what was around, because we had only been to Vermont a couple times. And we hopped in the car, started driving, and next thing we know, we saw something on the side of the road. And I was like, hey, that's a covered bridge. So we immediately pulled over. And I've heard of covered bridges before. You've seen them, in pictures, but never in person. So we hopped out of the car, we walked out onto the bridge, and I immediately fell in love. I really enjoy architecture. I really enjoy, just the process of, the building of the bridges. When I saw that, I was like, love it. We hop back in the car, and next thing we know, instead of looking at properties, we're going around and doing a covered bridge tour, trying to find any covered bridge that we could, and started doing that and ended up spending the entire day looking at covered bridges. And as I said, just fell in love with it immediately. So when the opportunity came to join the Vermont Covered Bridge Society, I'm all in. So one of the things that Beth had mentioned was the different events that we do. Going out to the fairs has been one of the things that I enjoy the absolute most. Being able to, just see people and, trying to sell our wares, but also trying to recruit new members to join the Vermont Covered Bridge Society. That is something that you can't beat, the face-to-face, because you ask people in Vermont, have you been over a covered bridge? And of course, the majority say yes. If they've lived here all their lives, they've covered, they've gone across the bridges. And then we also have a lot of people that come to Vermont just to see them. And I'd say once I was bitten by that bug, we'd come back just to see the bridges ourselves. So one of the things that we do in conjunction with the doing the fairs and the festivals is we send out, or we hand out, the actual membership applications. And I have to say that the membership fees to join this club are extremely low. When I heard how much it costs to become a member, my first instinct was, why isn't it more? It really should be. Just because we are trying to save and preserve and protect these bridges, and the nominal amount of a membership fee that members have to pay, it's in my opinion, it's not enough. We should be doing more, paying more as members. But again, we want to make sure that it is more affordable for Vermonters. We want to make sure that it's affordable for people that don't live here. Maybe they're like, hey, I don't live there. Why would I want to pay a membership fee? Well, so it's that extremely low that it's very affordable. So we do have a membership application. You can find the applications online. Our website is vermontbridges.org. You can actually see a copy of this membership application. And again, the membership is very, very low. Starts out, if you're a student, $10. Individuals are $15. Couples are $20. If you'd like to become a life member, if you didn't want to pay a fee every single year, you could join as an individual for $200. If you're a family, you could join for $300. I jokingly told someone recently it should be $350, but if they sign up today, you can get for $300. And but yes, it's really really a low fee. And if you're a municipality or a business, it's only $15. So it's definitely worthwhile doing. Some of the benefits that you receive, there is a online portal through our website. And if you're a member, you have your own special membership login, and you can gain access to education material. And there's also, you get invited to, twice a year, we have a meeting where we get together and we try to, we discuss the financials, all the fun stuff, like that. But then we go and we recently had a gentleman that is on one of our committees that was recently over working on Notre Dame, and he did a presentation for us. And he discussed, some of the work that he does on the bridges here in Vermont and some of the work that he does all around the world. So we have some education that we cover in our meetings, and then we get together, have a nice lunch together, and then we'll go out and we'll visit some of the surrounding bridges together as a group, and then we'll have someone do a presentation about the bridges. So we are always learning something new. So if you would like to become a member, we would love for you to join us and join our group, have you become a member of our society. And again, all you have to do is go online, go to vermontbridges.org, and sign up to become a member. There's a button you click to become a member and fill out your information. And as soon as you do, you'll receive an email from myself welcoming you to our society. So,
What's the current membership?
so we currently have around 344 members, which is a combination of individuals, families, couples, and then we have, as I said, businesses. We have approximately 88 lifetime members, and we are, of course, are always looking to increase those numbers. So please check us out. And then with that, I'll turn that over to Mr. Mark Maddox.
All right. Thanks, Scott. So Scott mentioned I'm Mark Maddox. I am the secretary and the newsletter editor of the Vermont Covered Bridge Society. I'm not a Vermonter, a native Vermonter. I chose Vermont as my home state 5 years ago. I came from Washington State that has 5 covered bridges, none of which I've seen. I initially discovered covered bridges in Indiana and just thought they were fantastic. I liked the architecture of them, the kind of the history that it evokes. And I ran into Beth at the Chester Festival in 2023 and talked for a long time. Beth can talk. So we had quite the long discussion. She invited me to the fall meeting. I came, joined, and then in December, she asked if I would consider being the secretary or newsletter editor. And I said, sure, I can try both. So December of last year, I became secretary and newsletter editor. So as a secretary, my responsibilities basically is keeping track of the meetings, taking the notes, helping to publish our agenda for the meeting. And I believe Beth mentioned we have 2 meetings a year in June and in September, where we all get together, and Scott told you about what we do at those meetings. And we also have board meetings throughout the year. This coming year, we will probably have more because we are getting ready to celebrate our 25th anniversary. So we have a number of items in the works about that. So I'm also the newsletter editor. We publish a newsletter 4 times per year. And I have one coming up in December. And as the relatively new newsletter editor, this will be my 4th newsletter. And I'm learning as I'm going, as I've never done this before. But what I include in the newsletter are our meeting notes, what we've talked about and decided as the board, what we're planning on doing. I ask each of the board members or committee chairs to provide information on what they're going on. Beth, with the events, will list the different events that we have coming up. So we use that to notify our membership of what's happening. I also like to include items of interest. One of my favorite stories in my 2nd newsletter was a story about the submarine, the USS Vermont. In the submarine, their galley is called the Catamount Tavern, and they have covered bridges on some of the walls in the galley. And so that was I thought, an interesting story to let the membership know what was happening in this upcoming edition. I'm going to be interviewing our current president, Joe Nelson, and having a nice story about him to let people know who Joe is and what he's been involved in. Unfortunately, we also have memberships members who pass away, so we do include a section for passages for them. And then more on upcoming events. The oldest bridge in the United States is having its 200th celebration next October. So I will publish a story about that. So I try and include things that will entice the membership, give them some information. Unfortunately, we only do it 4 times a year. We're hoping in the future to do it maybe a little bit more often. Currently, we have an online version, as well as we will send paper copies out to individuals. Maybe eventually we'll go to the online, and then we can do a monthly newsletter or even bi-monthly, just to be more up to date on things that are happening, because sometimes some of the information I have is a little old. So I want to keep people up to date on what's happening. Another item I'm involved in with the Covered Bridge Society is the Speakers Bureau. So this is a newly implemented branch, shall we say, of the Covered Bridge Society, where we bring information to the public. So say a historical society meeting or a community meeting, they ask for speakers. I've done several of these. So I will talk about the Vermont Covered Bridge Society, what we're doing, but also provide people at the meeting information on covered bridges, how they're built, what the significance of the different building types are, who the builders were, and do a nice little tour in the area of those bridges and point out, so this is your covered bridge, this is the type of covered bridge it is, this is who built it, and try and provide information that they may not know. It's educational for them, but it's also educational for me. Since I've only been involved for about a year, I continually am learning, and I learned from the individuals. I did one, my very first speaking engagement was in Saxon's River, and the Hall Covered Bridge outside of Saxon's River was destroyed by a truck in 1982. It was rebuilt in the traditional manner and dragged across the river with a team of oxen. And I had people in that room who were there, and they went on to describe what they saw and how they felt about that situation. So it was really interesting for me to learn from them, as well as to provide information to them. So we are available to do that through our publicity chair, and it's rather a fun event to do. And one final thing I'll talk about is we have the 100 Bridge Club. I'm happy to announce last Saturday I became a member of the 100 Bridge Club. The 100 Bridge Club recognizes that in Vermont there are 100 historic or authentic covered bridges. Historic means they were originally built during the time of covered bridges, the mid 1800s to early 1900s. Authentic is a bridge that has been rebuilt or built new, but is using those same methods. So there are 100 in Vermont. 3 of those are co-owned with New Hampshire. New Hampshire might say they own them because they cross the Connecticut River. But at any rate, the 100 Bridge Club is just a little, not even a competition, but it's, we have the 100 bridges, the list of the 100 bridges, to go out and visit each of those bridges. And it was really rather fun not being native to Vermont. I learned a great deal about Vermont just traveling to those different areas, and I really enjoyed it. So, so there you have it for our Covered Bridge Society. Beth, I don't know if you want to talk any more about plans for upcoming 25th celebration, if we have time for that.
Well, we have a lot of different plans for sure, but one of the things I wanted to mention too is our structure. So we are governed by a board of directors. There are currently 12 directors on the board. The president, vice president, the secretary, treasurer are the officers, and then we have a number of committees. So there's always room on the committees for more worker bees. And let me see if I can run down the committees here. We have the membership committee. We have the events committee, the fundraising committee, the publicity committee, and the Speakers Bureau would be under that. Then we have our Bridge Watch committee. Now, our Bridge Watch committee is really a vital committee. It was probably the first committee that was stood up when we became a 501c3 organization. I'm part of the organization at the time, but because our mission is to preserve the remaining covered bridges in Vermont, we needed to have a Bridge Watch committee whereby each member of the Vermont Covered Bridge Society is a ex officio, if you will, or an unofficial member of the Bridge Watch committee, in that when you go to see your covered bridges in Vermont, whether you're trying to pursue the 100 Bridge Club designation, or whether you're just out for a Sunday afternoon drive, or you're showing the folks from Maryland around and you want to see some covered bridges, if you see something going awry with the covered bridge, okay, then that needs to be reported to our Bridge Watch chairperson, who Scott alluded to, is this gentleman who is a big timber specialist, a native son from Huntington, Vermont, Miles Jennis, and he gathers in the reports from the bridge watchers in regards to the bridges, and he then contacts the AOT, and if an inspection is needed of the bridge, the damage is such that Miles feels that the AOT engineers should get down there and determine whether the bridge is safe for travel or not, then that process unfolds from there. So that's our Bridge Watch Committee. Then we also have a Legislative Watch Committee. And the Legislative Watch Committee is another very important aspect of our mission, in that we need to have legislation in Vermont that can strengthen up our fine structure in regards to when folks hit the bridges, whether they be 18-wheel truck drivers or people that are driving the Penske trucks that are too high to get through our bridges. So we have actually we are in hopes of installing a new bridge Legislative Watch Committee chairperson soon, who is also going to be sitting in the House of Representatives. Just elected last week to the House of Representatives in Vermont. So this is a great thing for us. And then we have a communications committee. That is our newsletter. That is our website, which our vice president is our website webmaster. And we have an education committee. An education committee has just been stood up in the last year or year and a half. And we have a retired school teacher from Derby that is a chairperson of that committee. And she's doing great things in regards to going to science fairs. She's also on the Speakers Bureau, so she lives up in the Northern Tier, and she does the Northern Tier speaking engagements for us. And last but not least, we have climate-controlled archives, which we maintain, and we have a number of people that have contributed over the years, all kinds of memorabilia, whether it be 3D, models of covered bridges, whether it be photographs, all different kinds of artifacts that we maintain. And we have a person on that committee that actually is in the process of a huge project to scan all the different photographs that have come in and get them in some kind of semblance of order.
And Beth, if I can add on to that, something that I think we might start to offer is I'm also on the board of the Brandon Museum, and we recently did a Vermont Covered Bridge Society exhibit at the museum, which ended up bringing in a lot of people just to, that had interest in that. And I think that's something that we can actually offer to other historical societies or museums. So if anyone would like to, be a part of that, and that's something that we can use some of our items that we have.
Absolutely. Because hopefully the archives will be organized into geographic groups, which would be ideal, because then if it's a historical society, and we do have a number of historical societies that are members.
Correct.
East Montpelier being one, Morgan, I believe, being another, Pittsford Historical Society being another. And so we should absolutely extend that offer to our members first, but then if there's other historical societies out there that would like to become members for $15 a year, and that's a pretty good payoff, because then we could, give you a covered bridge exhibit that you can put in your historical society. And the Brandon Museum, what they did is they bought a sandwich board sign, and out on the curb on Route 7 they put Vermont Covered Bridge Society exhibit inside. Yep. And a lot of people that were going by, you can't tell me, didn't say, oh, look at that, let's go and see the exhibit about the Vermont Covered Bridges. And so it's a way to draw people into your historical society. And historical societies are much like any other society these days, in regards to people are always trying to find members, find worker bees, find fresh ideas, And so, we're all in this together. And that would be a really excellent thing for us to do, for sure. So I think that is a pretty good overview of what it is that we do, why it is that we do it. And we don't want to give away all of our thunder for the next time. But I will tell you that we do have some pretty exciting things. And first in ever in Vermont, things that are going to be happening with the Vermont Covered Bridge Society's name attached to them in 2025. So we're hoping that we can have a quarterly podcast video that people will be able to view and listen to, and be able to understand what it is that the Vermont Covered Bridge Society is doing. And then you can sit and say, oh, I think this would be a great organization for me to get involved with. And we welcome all comers. And thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.